I'm Gabe Lullo, and welcome to the Do Hard Things podcast. We're talking to go-to-market leaders and entrepreneurs who have conquered the challenges, the hustle, and the grind. Get ready for real talk, real insights, and no fluff.
But the hardest thing in the world right now is not actually closing deals, it's actually getting somebody's attention.
If you don't have that hook in that first 5 to 10 seconds, guess what? They're going to scroll to the next one.
You need to go in and you need to make it sound like yourself. That's the biggest piece of the puzzle. And I promise you, we can all tell.
The people that are trolls and the people that are haters never done the thing that you're doing.
I love doing this podcast because I get a front row seat to some of the greatest minds in sales.
Gone are the days of saying stay in your lane. When you're an executive leader and you're an enterprise-wide leader, there are no lanes. You've got to be partners.
Curiosity is like when the type of questions you ask is sometimes the value that you bring.
I need you to tell me when you're ready to buy or what you're ready to do. And I think it's changed so much into like adding more value. And if you're not doing that, then you're definitely going to come off as desperate.
High pressure selling is like a dinosaur tactic at this point.
No parent is like, oh, you should be a salesperson when you grow up, right? Everyone's like a doctor, lawyer, whatever crap. It's never salespeople.
It's not your job to motivate people. It's your job to find motivated people.
It's not cockiness. It's not arrogance. It's confidence knowing I know this and I know that I can help you.
From where I started to where I am today is all because I learned how to sell.
And there's too many people who have only been doing this for 5 freaking minutes. Sit down, close your mouth, actually go out there and get yourself beat up. Then come back and tell me if something is dead or not.
That is exactly why I started this podcast, because right there, that's the epitome of doing hard things.
Welcome back to the Do Hard Things podcast with Lexi and Gabe. Today's guest is Devain Doolaramani, founder of Friends in Reality, a leading digital talent management company representing some of the most influential creators on the internet. Devain is a Business Insider Top 24 TikTok Power Player and a multi-year Top 19 TikTok Talent Manager, known for helping creators build real businesses and helping brands connect authenticity with powerful, culture-driven audiences. Friends in Reality represents top-tier talent, including Forbes top creators like Brooke Monk, Sam Dez, Chase Ridgway, Stormy Goldsmith, and partners with global music entities and major brands to drive organic growth and meaningful impact across digital and traditional media. Devain, welcome to the show.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Do Hard Things podcast with Gabe and Lexi. Devain, we just heard your bio, and we were just talking in the green room about your new launch. We're so excited that you're on the show and really excited to get into this, man. How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Doing well. It's nice to be back in LA. I was in New York for a bit, so enjoying the warm weather out here.
Absolutely. Well, you are, I'm sure, jet setting everywhere right now. You have a lot going on. But I want to start off when you started, right? I want to hear this origin story. What got you, excited and passionate about what you do? Let's start at the beginning. And how really did you get first pulled into that creator economy and talent management?
Yeah, totally. So I grew up in New York in the city, went to high school out there, went to Horseman, and then moved to Hong Kong when I was 16. In Hong Kong is when I sort of got my first glimpse at the online and digital space. Basically started running Instagram accounts back when Instagram was the only social media on the internet. And I would basically build quote accounts and various different accounts and sell advertisements on there, and basically work with other people in the digital space. And that sort of sparked my interest in social media and where things go. And then going into college, I had a stint where I DJ'd and produced a bit, created my own music and self-marketed that. And that led me to an internship at Sony my senior year of college, at which point Musical.ly and TikTok were around. TikTok had just acquired Musical.ly, and I was doing a lot of sound promotion campaigns. So labels would give me budgets and I'd go out to creators and basically source creators to make songs go viral on the internet. So spearheaded a ton of campaigns, almost 200 plus for labels. And at the same time, I was studying finance at Chapman and realized there's a huge gray area and a lot of room sort of for someone to come into the digital market and really start managing talent and help them build businesses. So came in with the thesis that I'm going to use a business background to really just keep them moving and like scaling with longevity in mind, and to help them build businesses around what they have going on the digital internet.
I love that as such a great story. And Friends in Reality, you founded it, such a distinct name. Where did that idea come from, and what problem were you really trying to solve? Was it just that gray area that you were noticing from what you were starting with?
Yeah, I think when it comes down to managers in general, there's a lot of turnover. You know, clients are always looking for the next best thing. So I think the best way to sort of view management is to view your clients as friends that you'll have for a long time. And you're basically building with a friend and building businesses with friends. And that's sort of where the name sparked. I'm friends with all my clients in reality. So we hang out, we go on trips, like we do biannual retreats. Like I think that's really important. Like you're not friends when you start working together, but it's really important to build that friendship because the business side of it is just so much easier when you're able to be transparent, you're able to have legit like logical disagreements with them, but come to the same consensus. I think a lot of people look at it as a transaction versus me looking at it as like a friendship that I'm building.
Absolutely. So before the amazing Business Insider accolades and managing all these top content creators, what did those early days really look like? Were you ever wanting to be in the spotlight, or how did you actually get in the management side and the other side of the camera?
Yeah. I mean, I think I got a glimpse of the spotlight when I was DJing and I played Snow Globe up in Tahoe and played a few festivals around the US, and I think for me, I saw that side of life, and I was like, I'd rather be behind the scenes and get to enjoy that life without actually being known, and I think that's really what piqued my interest more so than being in the spotlight and having a huge social following. I think, when you do have that, it's hard to live a private life, and I prefer that style of life.
Sure.
Yeah, totally get that. And was there a specific moment that you realized social media can be more of like a business for somebody in a real industry that they can get into?
Yeah, I mean, I think you look at like a lot of the big creators from the Hype House days and the Sway House days, like a lot of them got into great venture investments. They took off in their careers. You look at someone like Alex Warren or Addison going into music, and you look at Charlie creating a plethora of brands, and I think they started doing that and pioneered that wave. And seeing that alongside the time where I started managing talent, I was like, this is gonna be massive, like, all the big agencies, all the big shops are gonna adopt digital culture soon enough, and I think being early to it was, something that I was able to be lucky enough to join.
Absolutely. So let's talk about rebranding because obviously rebranding is hard. Our show's called Do Hard Things. I've done multiple rebrands,
Yeah.
and they're very difficult. They're very intentional, right? But they're typically necessary. So you did a rebrand in 2024. So why was that rebrand necessary, and what really changed in the industry to make it urgent or make it feel urgent?
Yeah, I think I honestly just wanted a fresh start. I wanted to work with people that I enjoyed working with and that were my actual friends, as I mentioned. I think I've had nothing but great relationships with people in the past, and I think I just wanted to start a smaller shop and work with people that I actually think that I'd be able to benefit versus just working with anyone across the board.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And what would you say you think is the biggest difference between traditional talent managers that a lot of people are seeing versus what you do?
Yeah, I don't think there's much of a difference. I think for me, it's like I'm really interested in the creator I'm working with personal life too. It's like, are they able to manage content in their full-time job? Are they able to continue the content output? Like, where do they want to go? Do they want to like eventually start meeting with other founders and go into the venture side of things? Do they want to build a business? Do they want to build a course? Whatever it might be. I think for me, there's a lot of opportunity in different verticals that a creator can take, and I think for me, it's like I'm a one man like show. Like I don't have people that I work with. I think it's really just that personal connection and relationship with the clients. Like I'm sure I could go hire and build a company and have a ton of talent managers, but I think I take action to work with people that I want to work with versus working with anyone. I'm not really in the mindset that I need to scale to build something massive. I could build something massive with 20 or 30 creators.
Yeah. So let's talk. I mean, we're in the business to business space, right? For our company, so we're doing a lot of content on LinkedIn. And when I see content, whether it's on Instagram, TikTok, or LinkedIn, the organic content is the one. It just is so much better. And then versus seeing all of these ads, right?
Yeah.
So if you look at your creators and you guys emphasize organic, 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 why is that still king versus going the paid ad route?
Yeah. I mean, I just think like with organic content, you don't like paid is a great scaling method. I think a lot of people use it to scale, especially when you're in B2B, like with a brand launch or whatever it might be. It's like start organic and then use meta ads to scale, use TikTok ads to scale, like TikTok shop, like GMV max, use affiliates, like all the good things associated with that. But I think organic is how you build a real audience, in any vertical of life. Like, it's like if you're organic in friendships, you'll build real friendships. If you're organic on LinkedIn, you'll build real people that want to follow you. And then it's like you could retarget those people that already like you, and basically capture more people that just aren't seeing your organic content. And I think that's important. It's like a lot of people focus on paid right off the bat, whether it's like running paid ads on their pages or whatever it might be. I signed a new client recently, Kevin O'Connor. He works on an oil rig, and he's been pretty successful and he has good engagement. But we're very, very intentional about the brands he works with. He wants to work with brands that he uses in his daily routine. He's not going to do a paid partnership with anyone. But for someone like him, like it's like he uses American Crew for his hair. He uses Kiehl's for his moisturizing routine or his skincare routine. So it's like we're being very intentional about the brands that someone like him would work with, and it's the same with my other clients. Like I think being intentional about choosing when to activate paid, whether it's in your own personal brand or for like paid advertisements in general, is super important.
Yeah, definitely. And I'd love to know, what do you think brands are consistently misunderstanding about working with creators, especially when they're trying to target the younger people? Obviously, being on social media and influencers is new for a lot of companies.
Yeah, I mean, brands obviously have their requirements with the FTC, like legal requirements from their councils and stuff. But I think at the end of the day, like provide a creator with like a template brief, but let them get freedom on what they know performs best for their audience. I think a lot of briefs are way too confined and don't let the creator attract and like get the virality that their other videos do, just because they're confined to a brief that just won't work on the internet and won't work for their audience. At the end of the day, the creator is the one that built their audience, whether it's 1,000 people or 1,000,000 people, and they know what attracted those number of people. So I think it's like give them restrictions, but don't confine them to one specific creative or whatever it might be.
Right, right. So just like anything in life, consistency is what matters, right? And consistently posting, consistently creating content, it's hard. A lot of people want to be a content creator. They start and they fizzle out, just like they want to get in shape and do all the things in life. But at the end of the day, you're working with the biggest, creators in the world. So what is that separation point from creators who burn out, plateau, or for the ones who actually have that ultra success and careers in this?
Yeah, and I think with that, it's a tough conversation to be had, but I think it's really just balance. A lot of people, I think it's really just setting a routine and balancing it. A lot of people burn themselves out by going to every event, going to every thing that's presented to them, and I think it's just be very intentional and selective about what you attend, what you go to. Like at the end of the day, if you're going to 3 events a week, 4 events a week, are those events really gonna benefit your career, or are you like, is it just draining your social battery? So I think it's being very intentional about where you show up and what you do and just really trying to create a schedule. And on the days you aren't feeling good, take a break. It's like you don't have to post every single day. I think a lot of people just burn out looking at the insights, analytics, metrics. If there's one day where your video doesn't perform as well, like don't worry about it, just post through it. And I think a lot of people just get too nitpicky with something being a little wrong, and I think it's that's life. So there are things that go wrong. It's like how do you fix that in the future, and build back the engagement and push through it.
So every show, we try to find a nice little hook that we like to add to the thing. And so far, my hook of so far of what you said is you said post through it instead of push through it, which you just said actually. I don't know if you noticed that, but I'm sure you did because you're obviously highly intelligent. But it's just hilarious that I just think that's so cool. Everyone says push through things. You say post through things. Can you unpack that for me a little bit? That was super intentional, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I mean, I think people think that, like, if their engagement tanks, it's over, like, I think that's the mindset a lot of people have, but it's really consistency, like, your audience is there for a reason, and maybe it's not working 1 week and, like, 3 of your posts tank, but eventually you're gonna get that one post that hits the algorithm and goes viral or, like, builds a new audience, so it's really just it's consistency, and I think a lot of people don't realize that. It's you have to be very consistent with your content and also just make your content appeal to the audience you built. I think a lot of it is really just studying the insights, metrics, analytics, what works, what doesn't. Um, and yeah, post for it. But I mean, if there are days where you don't want to or you're not feeling good, as I said, like take a break. Like it's not really the end of the world. I think social media is such a fast moving ball game that people get so caught up in it, but it's really just about balance, I think, at the end of the day, like, people really need to figure out their personal balance and then their work balance, and it's just really it's a different type of work-life balance, but it's there, so.
So just quick question, and then I want to turn it to Lex, but are you actually managing those KPIs and analytics and metrics for your content creators, or you have them rely on that, or are you having them focus on being creative and you and your
Yeah.
teams focusing on the back end and those analytics?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's up to the creator. I'm not the one who built a whatever following they might have. Like, I'm not the one that built like 500,000 followers for one creator, for example, so they know what works, they know their audience, and I'll leave that up to them. I think for me, it's like, how do I scale the business? I'm really operationally driven and I know how to like build businesses. I'm not as proficient in social media and the insights, analytics, and trends behind it and the algorithms. Otherwise, I'd be a creator myself, but it's not
Yeah,
not
it's so
something I really
important, but there are so many creators listening to this right now or I should say future creators
Yeah.
who wanna be creators, and they need to take that on. They can't just be posting, they need to be
Yeah.
their audience metric.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, once you build that initial core audience, you have to understand what your audience wants and why they came to that video or they came to your page in the first place, and then it's really just retention, like it's retaining them and then having them spread the word about you and building it further. I mean, a great example of that recently is the life insurance guy on TikTok. I don't know if you guys have seen him, but he like picks up the call and dances, but it's like every single one of his videos gets an insane amount of shares. My friends have sent it to me. I have 30 mutual people following him now, and it's just he's just hilarious. He makes content that makes people like happy, and like people are able to relate to it as well. So
Definitely. Would you say that you focus on just TikTok? Do you do different platforms? I know I saw on LinkedIn that you had Brooke go on to LinkedIn. Is it common that you do different platforms, or is there one that you work with the most?
yeah, totally. I tell my creators to be active on every platform. Like content distribution is king. At the end of the day, like your video might not perform well on TikTok, but it might go viral on YouTube. I actually was telling my cousin this in Dubai over this past New Year's. He has a caffeine energy bike company, and he wasn't posting on YouTube Shorts. And a week and a half later, he gets back to New York, posts his first short. His TikTok's doing decent. His Instagram's doing decent. That first YouTube short or the second YouTube short got 7 million views. He went up 7,000 subscribers, and he had 0 subscribers and no YouTube presence, and, he's getting a ton of wholesale orders and stuff now, so I think it's, like, one of those things where it takes an extra 10 minutes, but it doesn't hurt to just diversify your content onto every platform. YouTube, X, Instagram, Spotlight, Snapchat, TikTok, there's so many platforms out there. I think those are the main 5 that really have a lot of user base and, like, recurring users, but, there are more out there, I'm sure, Threads, so it's one of those things where get your content everywhere because you don't know what audiences lie on different platforms and who's gonna be able to see your content.
Do you work with those big platforms at all, or do you just work with the creators using them?
Yeah, just work with the creators, that use them. We have friends at those platforms, but it's more so they're just there as like a sounding board for us.
So I was talking to Brooke, and she said, we have to have you on the show, and because you're the business mind of the operation, and like you said, you're the business mind, self-proclaimed, and you're crushing it. But here's my question: how do you work with creators to put that CEO hat on, right? Because you said they're building their following, they're building their audience, they get to 500,000, let's just say, but now they're like, oh my God, I can make significant revenue doing this. I need to have a CEO mindset. How do you work with those creators to go beyond just views and followers and start thinking like an executive?
Yeah. So for Brooke, I think she's just a very smart human being. She's a founder and CEO in herself. Her business is all operated by her. She doesn't have a bigger team outside of myself and a few other like internal parties. I think with her, it's her and her boyfriend Sam are just very, very smart and intentional, and like they just make content because they love it. I think across from my other clients, I think it's really just coming in and just streamlining their operation, like really telling them, I guess, what I think a lot of brands look for things and a lot of people look for things in business. And I think it's really just telling them, one, get your content everywhere, and two, be intentional about what you post in terms of the brands you use and stuff. A lot of them use brands organically in their videos and whatnot. And I'm like, brands look at that, you have an organic feature, like, I'm sure there are AIs that look for videos now that have good engagement and what products are featured in them, and I'm like, Instagram story, every PR box you get, like, they have trackers, I'm sure, for what people are storing them and how many insights and KPIs and what the analytics behind those are and the link clicks or whatever it might be, and I think that's also what's caused the rise of platforms like LTK and ShopMy. It's really just conversion metrics, and I think coming in and just, like, explaining the whole business side of how a brand works to them and how other sort of, like, startups work with them, like, if they wanna go down the venture route or get equity in a cap table or advisory, like, I think it's really just one of those things where they just we bounce ideas off of each other and learn from each other, and I think that's where the best, like, ideas form.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think creators are the new media companies?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I mean, you look at people like Darban, who has built like such a big production house, and then you look at all these Netflix deals coming out. I saw like Salish just did a Netflix deal with her dad, and a few other creators have done Netflix deals now too. I think you see the traffic and reach talent have, and I think these big networks are starting to realize that. Tubi released the first couple movies with creators, I believe. So I think people are really just succumbing to the fact that these digital talent and creators are like almost a new wave of actors and actresses, and traditional talent 20 years ago.
So obviously, you've been spending a couple years with you and Brooke and getting prepared for her beauty business. It just recently launched, and take us through that campaign. Take us through, what that means for the business, and walk us through some things that were maybe a struggle or some things that you kind of realize maybe should we be doing this? What's going on? Because I'm
Yeah.
ready to become successful.
Yeah, I mean, that whole brand and business was her brainchild. She's been wearing lashes since she was 15, so, it's basically been a lot of her work and, like, effort that finally went live. I think for us, it was just being super intentional about making sure the product was good, making sure that everything resembled what she wanted before going live, and I think that's why it took multiple years to get out there. She also, like, self-funded the whole brand and bootstrapped it, so, um, we have no outside capital, in regards to that. I think, the she really wanted to create a product that would be accessible to the general community, but also just be a resemblance of what she wanted to put out into the world. Um I mean, there are pitfalls everywhere, it's like figuring out the supply chain, figuring out the right 3PL partners, figuring out the branding, the design, like CRO, making sure things are converting, and then all the operational back end with shipping, mapping, and stuff. It's a lot of small pieces to put together, but I think we took our time with it and really just tried to launch as effectively as possible to avoid um, I guess anything happening that could have been negative. So, and if things do happen in that capacity, it's like, how do you resolve it the fastest way possible? And I think it's just always being online and looking at reviews and seeing what the consumer wants and needs, and like working to resolve those problems as fast as possible.
Totally. If someone's listening right now and they really want to break into the creator economy, whether as a creator, a manager, or a brand, what's the first thing they should really focus on?
I think it's just figuring out what type of content they want to make and how often they want to put out content. Like if you're putting out content daily, make sure you're not picking a niche that's super hard to do that, you know? And I think it's once you start doing it, I signed this client of mine, Chase Ridgeway. He worked at a sales job. When I first signed him at 4,000 followers, and those 4,000 followers were after I think 120 days of posting or something, and he only had 4,000. I signed him. A month later, he had 100,000 or so. 2 months later, he had 100,000 or so, and now he has, I think, almost close to 400,000 or 500,000 across both platforms, and he's absolutely crushing it. Was able to leave his sales job and is now making content pretty much full time. I believe he still has a remote job, but I think it's one of those things where it's really just consistency and really posting through it. As I said, you know, like you post 120 times and you don't really gain an audience, and then one post takes off and people resonate with your content, and the next thing you know, your life could change. You know.
Absolutely, absolutely. So thank you so much, man, for being on the show. Who is the right person in our audience that should reach out to you, and what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, I think it's just aspiring creators or entrepreneurs, and I think LinkedIn is great. You know, it's a great platform to be on. I advise every creator to go on LinkedIn as well. You know, it's you're networking with professionals as well, and it's probably the easiest way. You know, instead of shooting a DM on Instagram, it's like DM them on LinkedIn. I think it's a great platform just to meet like-minded individuals and also just meet people in various industries that you normally wouldn't. You know, you could simply like search influencer marketing representative at any brand you want in the internet and send them an email, and like you might form a relationship with them or get a contact there. So yeah, I guess like any aspiring creators in general, and like entrepreneurs or people that are interested in the industry. Always happy to connect with people across the board.
Thank you so much for being on the show. We are super excited to have you on, and we can't wait for everyone to go check out your stuff. We'll put all your links at the bottom, and looking forward to seeing the launch of the new business, man. Congratulations. Yeah, really appreciate it. Thanks, sis. Absolutely. And everyone out there, keep doing the hard things, and we'll see you on the next one.